this a little early for you to be playing your style of hockey?
No, not at all. If you look at all the injuries, they've been kind of freak accidents. Kevin Ean, it was a light hit and he twisted his ankle. Same with Claude Lemieux, and I hit a guy and my knee popped. So it's not at all the reason for that. The only thing we're kind of upset, like myself, Kevin, and Claude, is that we don't have 4 lines and we can't go out and give guys like Messier and Gretzky and Lemieux a rest. And that's mainly what you want with 4 lines, especially in a game like this.
What's the status of your knee anyway?
Well, tonight I wish I could have played, but it was just a strained knee ligament, and I really pulled it even more in Montreal. So I guarantee I'll be in there Tuesday.
That's if the lads pull it out. What do you see happening in the next period? Is this game going to get slower and slower as these teams get more tired, or are we looking at 15-second shifts?
Well, always in overtime it's going to be a fluky goal, a goal coming around the net. Somebody's going to put it off his skate. So you're going to look at a lot of guys shooting from behind the net, coming around, rebound goals. And for some reason I think it's 66 Mario Lemieux is going to put it in.
Well, we were talking just as that period ended, wondering about what happens to goaltenders as the game goes on. How tired does a goaltender get? You don't often see, though, a goaltender make a really bad mistake. You usually don't see a goal which is his fault. It's often a fluky goal, but you rarely see a goaltender just whiff a puck.
Well, the goalies have that sixth sense. It's unbelievable. Like Grant Fuhr will concentrate so much in these periods. It's unbelievable. He'll go in right now and he's tired, but I'll tell you, the adrenaline's pumping, and he could play, I bet you, for 7-8 periods if he needs to. And hopefully it won't be one of those Islander-Washington overtime games.
Mike Keenan is your coach during the regular season. He's the coach of this team now. What would you suspect he's telling the lads to do in the second period of overtime?
Well, he won't be in there until the last 3 minutes before we have to go out. He's going to let everybody relax for 15 minutes. You don't want a coach going in there and pacing and getting you nervous. So he'll leave us alone for for 15 minutes, and then he'll go in there the last 2 minutes and tell the guys, maybe a few strategies or something, and basically go with what got us here.
He's he has a very quiet demeanor on the bench. Is that the same kind of demeanor he carries into the dressing room?
Once in a while. He chews on that ice, so he bites his tongue, I guess. No, he's pretty calm on the bench, and that keeps the players calm.
It looked like the club was really fired up when this game got started. Did something happen in the dressing room?
Oh yeah, we want to prove that our team's the best in the world, and we are the best in the world. And after the first period, you could tell it was a great hot period for us, and it's just too bad we couldn't keep it up. But like I said, you're playing the Russians, and you got the Larionovs and Makarovs, and it's tough to keep them off the board.
Well, that's the job in the next period. Rick, thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Rick talking to the Philadelphia Flyers, sitting out tonight because of a bad knee, but he says he'll be back for the next one, should there be a next one. We played 20 minutes of sudden death. Nobody has scored. Stay with us. There's more to come.
Canada 5, the Soviet Union 5 after one overtime period here at the Copps Coliseum in Hamilton. Hello again, everyone. With Ron Roosh, I'm Dan Kelly, and I don't know what you can say about these two back-to-back games, the one in Montreal, the one tonight. They're probably two of the best hockey games back-to-back in the history of this game.
Well, I'd have to think so, and two of the closest, obviously. We've had, 4 times game tied in game 1 on Friday night, and then here it's been tied 4 times, and now all the way through an overtime period. Soviets could win this game. If they do, would you say they were clear-cut victors? It's just that close, but that far apart. I thought this series was going to be that way, and that's the way it's turned out.
The interesting thing to me, Ron, is the fact that Canada is using just 3 lines. They only have 10 forwards. The Soviets are supposed to be a better conditioned team than our North American teams. You couldn't tell that from this game tonight, could you?
I don't think so. I think that, first of all, Canada is demonstrating an immense amount of heart in this game. They have every reason to just kind of spit the bit and say, well, I'm tired, I can't finish my shift or something. They're trying, they're struggling, they're striving, they're finishing every check that they possibly can, and they are just right in it. And through the final 10 minutes of the first overtime period, I thought that they were getting into the net a little more than the Soviets were. Soviets conditioning, plus the fact that they're going with 4 lines, should stand them in good stead. But perhaps there's that little extra. The home fans are spurring them on and so on, and that may make the difference in the end for Team Canada. We'll see.
You see the scores of the previous Team Canada meetings. Canada, by the way, leading overall with 3 victories, 2 losses, and a tie. And this is the 3rd game that has gone into overtime. Canada won the first one in '84. The Soviets won the one the other night 6-5. So another overtime classic, and certainly the longest game in Canada Cup history.
Well, as longest game in, I guess, world tournament history. I don't think that, I think it's safe to say that. They don't have overtime, so we've really got a record setter here tonight. Canada going into a second overtime with the Soviets is history-making.
You expect the teams to come out and play as cautiously as they did in that overtime, or will they try and win it early?
I think now we're into that stretch where you're going to see the teams playing very, very conservatively. You notice that the defense was making sure that nobody got behind them. They were always playing the game without the extra rush, the move at the line to keep a puck in. The defenseman was backing off. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very conservative from here on out.
Been a great hockey game, folks. This is the Labatt Canada Cup on CTV.
Gretzky just tips it up to Lemieux, a deflection, but Beloshakin covering everything that's coming at him.
All right, that's a look at Yevgeny Beloshakin. The other end of the rink, Grant Fuhr made a couple of spectacular stops, especially with his glove hand, I thought.
I think so, and I think the Canadian government should give this guy a tax break for what he's doing tonight. We're going to look at Grant Fuhr behind the net. The puck gets knocked down. He's watching. He's looking over his shoulder. The puck is going to come out in front. He's going to make the first save, a kick save. Now watch Beckhoff come in, turn it over. Grant Fuhr just stood there, kicked it out with the right leg. No problem. Thanks for coming by. But this was the classic of the period. Kasatonov stops, lays into Leonov, over to Krutov. There's Grant Fuhr. He's not even done yet. Look at this man. He just likes to play in this hockey game.
He's going to like that recommendation of getting a tax break, too. You know, as the game goes on, the pads get heavier because you're getting tired. Also, for the goaltenders, those pads are filling up with sweat. They seem to slow down, but they don't slow down because of all that adrenaline pumping.
I think that, the goaltenders, they start to slow down. The players are still going to shoot the puck as hard as ever if they get that opening. The tempo of the play has changed. It is slower than the first period. It doesn't look it, but both teams are moving very slowly. The Canadians did a fine job in that period for about 4 or 5 minutes. They wouldn't let the Soviets out. They forechecked so well.
You know, I am curious. The Washington-New York Islander game went 4 periods of overtime. As a coach, and you dilly-dallied as a coach for a little while in the NHL, would you ever be tempted to replace your goaltender in overtime because he's getting tired?
I would think that he would have to kind of, well, usually you tell your goaltender if he blows a goal, but then if he does in the overtime, it's over anyways. I think a guy he's there, he's warmed up, his concentration has been good. I don't think it'll happen. I can't see putting a cold guy in there.
Ron was saying just a couple of minutes ago he thinks that these two teams will come out and play conservative tight checking once again. Do you agree with that, or do you think maybe we're going to say, let's get this over with, let's go get one?
Well, somewhere along the line, somebody's going to make a mistake, either out of fatigue or a bad guess, and they're going to wait to capitalize on the chances. Because anytime you go and you try to get a goal, you leave yourself vulnerable, and that's one thing that both teams are going to be very careful. You'll move the fourth man up, the defenseman, but those are gambles that you don't want to be forced into taking.
You talk about fatigue starting to affect your mental abilities. We were noticing in that overtime period how often the Canadians were dumping the puck blind into the Soviet slot, because that's the way they've always played before. That doesn't work against the Soviets, especially when you don't have one of your own teammates there. And it seems that as the game goes on, their bodies are slowing, but the mind's not working quite as quickly either.
That's true. Sometimes the tempo of the game gets caught up with you, so you end up with a puck over at the boards. And there's an old saying in the dressing room: when in doubt, shoot it at the net. Always go to the net, because funny things can happen. And that's the one thing the Canadians do that the Soviets don't do.
And at the other end of the rink, when in doubt, shoot it out.
That's right. Let them go back and get it.
That's right. It is 5-5. We're getting set for a second period of sudden death overtime, Canada and the Soviet Union. This is the Labatt Canada Cup on CTV.